Hello, everybody! Happy Cinco de Mayo! Hope you're doing awesome. Or Cinco de Mayo to make everybody upset and salty. Speaking of salt, I got my homemade margarita here. I'm trying not to spill because it's to the very top now that it's melted a little bit. But it has lime and salt, and it's made with pureed strawberries. So it's gonna be so good. If I don't spill it on myself, we'll be doing really good. But I also have like a whole blender full of it in the freezer, so I'm down in one. Would you like one? I will share. You just have to manage to get over here before they melt. Just kidding. I will share strawberry margarita with you. But yeah, I'm here. Nah, I'm good. You should down it all in one. No, I can't down it in one. I will sip it. I would have such the worst brain freeze ever because it's frozen. It's gonna be so good though. It's perfect. I would have a horrible brain freeze. Although it is starting to melt some, so it might not be so bad. But I don't want to find out how bad that would be. And I gotta pace myself, because I have lots of margarita mix. I made too much, so I'm gonna pace myself so I don't, So I make it through stream without, end up taking a nap. You mean not enough? Maybe not enough. Maybe, I don't know. It is pretty delicious, I say so. And I did do my Genshin dailies, but I have not done my Star Rail stuff yet. I'm terrible. You're gonna see me playing golf and like, what are you doing on your phone? Star Rail while I'm golfing and drinking a margarita. We're gonna multitask. Hi, Michigan! Welcome to the stream! Are you guys ready for some golf tonight? I know I am. I'm ready. Are you ready for it to get wild? I have lots of people in chat with me already. And guys, if you know me, the password's the same as it always is. So you feel free to join the game. It is up and running, and the password is the same as it always is. Alright, let me get these guys.
I thought it was going to be smaller. I didn't realize
Welcome,
it was
everyone.
a regular size bag.
Yep. Cheers.
We are live.
Monty, go.
And we have Lemon and Lady and Michigan and Turtle and Tank here. All ready to celebrate and play some golf.
Puddles has his own his very own paper bag.
That's
It's
so cute.
infused with catnip.
Whoa.
Oh, just throw some
like
catnip in a paper bag.
Hello.
That sounds like a good time for a.
No,
That's it.
I bought these.
Puddles is a great name. It is. He's a cute kitty too.
He is. He's dumb though.
Paper bags that smell like catnip for cats. It sounds like he's got his own alternate version of a margarita for tonight. So
Yes.
he's gonna go in the bag and never come out until the bag's shredded to bits.
Mono, that looks so good.
It's very good.
I wish
It's almost like a smoothie because I put so much
Hey.
strawberry in it.
Monty, it's not for you.
If I had a cat, then I would call him Derek. Why? Why Derek?
Puddles completely walked away and is now playing with the cat teaser that he loves very much.
Cat
Oh.
teaser?
Teaser.
Oh,
Like the-
teaser.
Yeah, it's like a feather.
Like-
Human
It's
names
got a
are the
feather
best
at
for
the end.
cats.
Monty.
Well, I admit, I used to name every stuffed animal I had as a kid George. So like all the doggo stuffed animals are named George. That was just it. George number 1, George number 2, they were all George.
Like the
Paul,
monkey.
get off the TV stand. Paul, get off the counter. Paul, get out of the food bag. Your neighbors would love it. They'd be like, why is he yelling at his kid like that? I'm like, no, it's the dog or the cat.
How are you, Michigan?
I'm doing good. You?
I'm doing well.
Paul,
no,
stop
I've been
crapping
bored most of the
outside. Great.
Paul.
Great.
Oh,
Paul, don't pee on that.
time.
I can just hear you now. Like, see all
Wait till
classic
they start
names.
clawing on your gaming chair.
What about naming them Grandma?
Oh my gosh. Grandma, don't do that. Grandma, don't hump so-and-so's leg.
Grandma, stop eating the plastic.
Stop eating the plastic, Grandma.
You guys are gonna make burrito come out my nose.
Paul, what did I tell you about
Oh,
running
y'all is so
poop
bad.
in the house? Oh my god. Bad Grandma.
Oh my god.
Oh god, I'm scared now.
Marie.
Oh jeez, you guys. My phone. Oh, okay. I think my phone's blowing up. Stop peeing on the carpet, Grandma! Grandma, don't lift your leg! We won't do gender mix up.
Oh, Grandma, you got a hairball?
Yes! Girl's got a hairball.
What about Nana?
Don't
puke on the
cough up your
carpet,
lungs
Grandma.
there, Grandma. Oh, Paul, stop eating grass.
I mean, Monty's got a pretty, like, human name. Brooke is a human name.
True. You do have yours is Brooke and Monty. I just
Yeah,
never
Brooke
think
and
about it when you're
Monty.
yelling at Brooke because I identify her as a cat. I had a coworker named Brooke once, but I didn't even think
Yeah.
about it.
My sister used to be friends with a girl named Brooke.
Oh, you guys are great.
Or like Grandma, stop licking yourself.
Right?
Jeff, thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you for that sub for 56 months. I'm not sure the notification went off even.
Stop puking on the carpet, Grandma.
I don't know if it did.
Grandma, why do you
Ding
love
dong.
tuna so much?
Stop sniffing his butt,
You can only
Grandma.
stay for a little bit. It's understandable.
Oh my god.
What did you say, Rose?
Great.
Oh, I said stop sniffing his butt, Grandma.
Oh god.
Stop, Grandma. Don't do that. That's rude.
Terribly uncouth, indeed.
I don't want this.
Let me see if this works. Try this. There we go. Okay. Bad Grandma. No, Paul. No! Oh my god! Neighbors are like, no means no. Dang it, I'm going over there with a shotgun.
Right?
I was talking to the dog.
Oh my god.
He was chasing the cat. Stop licking yourself, Paul. Not public. Oh my god.
Last burrito.
Freaking hell, Paul. Why are you eating dead mice? Oh, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Oh, okay. Alright, yeah. Notifications should work now. If they don't, let me know.
Bubbles.
And I'll manually make them work.
Rude.
What? What? Huh?
The suspense.
She's gonna go get Grandma.
Uh-oh. Don't get Grandma. Matthew, thank you for the lurk, man. Cheers, guys. Cheers.
Cheers. I'm gonna look and see if I can board after.
So, something that Puddles loves more than his cat teaser.
Bubbles. It makes sense for Puddles. Paul, stop scooting on the carpet. Paul, get your butt out of my face!
Maybe.
Oh.
If it'll work.
Let's see.
There it goes.
All the things going on here.
Monty likes them too, but he doesn't quite know how to play with them. There he goes. Just...
Hello. Hello.
Hey!
Oh, jeez.
Monty's joining it. Oh, I think I might have to refill the bubble thing. Uh-oh.
So are we gonna like... Oh, Monty's gonna play with Bubbles too? Oh my gosh.
my
Your
God,
dog is a cat. Your doggo is a cat.
Get it.
Yeah,
Like,
he
you
does.
can't have fun anymore with a couple
No.
bubbles.
I know.
I hope you guys can hear them pretty well.
Actually, it's...
Look at your baby.
Sorry for all
it's
the
still pretty
meowing
full.
there, guys. Next door, Paul likes to do that at night.
Oh, my sidekick.
Paul likes to yell at night. Oh, jeez. Now you're gonna have to start a whole YouTube series on this, Errol. I'm just saying. You know, the best names are human names. You need to make that a thing. You need to borrow somebody's pet and make this a thing.
Looks like I'm having connection issues.
Alright,
Sorry about that.
I'm gonna pull up the game. Are you going to join Miss Lady Rain?
No, she. Don't. Never mind. No, she.
She ran away.
She's raised
I know.
Where did she go?
I know Splints will be joining here soon.
Yeah. Golf game's up, guys, and the password is the same as always.
But yeah, I would join, but I got to get up in the morning.
Oh. Well, welcome back, Lady Rain.
Hey.
You're in
Welcome back.
game mode now. Mm-hmm.
See if that fixes it.
Okay. It's not halfway yet, but it's getting there.
Be like bubble solutionist.
Cheers, hon.
Poor ping.
Mm-hmm. It tastes so good, I really do want to just drink the whole thing.
I just
Monty.
texted Thor and I said,
Not
Moto
so
has
fast.
the most beautiful looking margarita and I want one so bad.
I
I wonder if the
mean,
pomegranate flavored one works.
Monty.
I would ship it to you, but I don't think it will stay in this form.
Probably not. If it did,
Mm-mm.
I'd be very impressed.
You want the lime, Jeff?
What about margarita in the bag?
Yeah, we could
Oh,
like
Bag.
Bagged
it'd be like that Christmas vacation present with the jello all over the outside of the box. It's all sticky, except for you'd have like strawberry puree all sticky all over the outside of the box. And you
Yeah,
shake the box and you just hear this
Yeah.
wine glass
Honestly,
rattling
I've had
around.
it in
It's
flip-flops
this
on.
margarita glass rattling around on the inside.
By the way,
Here's the
Kat,
thing.
Uh-huh.
I've had alcoholic popsicles before. I figured they'd do something similar with that.
yeah, I ordered myself something very nice not long ago.
What did you order?
A nice big bottle of Irish whiskey,
Mm.
and I am looking forward to it when it turns up.
Alright, well if this is
Beware
it.
hangovers.
I'm going to start the first game.
Well, it cost me 55 quid to give you an idea.
Jeez. It better taste amazing, right?
Yeah, Irish whiskey is usually really good.
What kind?
That's not bad for that price.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I would know. Oh, now I gotta wait for splints.
What do you mean?
I
You
thought
gotta
that was
wait?
standard though.
Oh, text.
Join the golf game,
Yay.
Splints.
I'm working
Mhm.
on it. Honestly, I forgot. Oh, right. I just shift tab and then.
Yeah, just start up your game and hit
No, the
join and
game's already started. All I gotta do is put in the password. It's fine. It's fine.
yes. Password's the same.
I know it is. Or at least I assumed it was.
You know what happens when you assume
Tex!
things.
Oh my gosh,
That's
it's
not
Tex.
me.
Welcome, Tex.
And you.
Cheers, Tex.
Me
Hola,
and
hola,
me?
hola.
No, you and me.
Hello.
I'm gonna be out of.
Oh, yeah. I gotta turn on.
So is it like 1:20 in the morning for you guys now? Tex.
Yeah, 120. Yeah.
Right now. Oh,
Sorry.
before we tee off, I need to refill.
Oh, hurry up and
You can
refill
tee
your
off,
glass
don't worry
about
about
that,
it.
yeah.
Go ahead and
Yeah.
refill.
I know I needed to join anyway.
I mean, tee off. Right?
Yes.
Whatever.
Rain wasn't listening when I said, "Hey, you joining? You joining? You joining?" She was
Wait,
going
you're
cat
gonna
mode.
miss it. I'm already here.
Yeah,
Joe.
and also dealing with
Where
the
you at?
missing package.
Oh
Joe,
yeah.
can you
So I guess
can
I'll
you
hear
see
you
my
very
video
back.
Your video on what?
on Discord?
It's like, can you share the game?
No.
No. Can Joe see my video on Discord? Like, can
Yeah, I
can you see me?
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So you know my cousin Liam, who you've met on Discord as well.
Yeah.
He's had a fucking picture with the fucking Stanley Cup.
What?
Yes, GB are playing in a tournament in England that he's had tickets for. He's had fucking tickets for them.
And
he's
he
not
didn't
even
invite
sent them
me.
there.
Unbelievable.
No, but he's not
Aw.
even sent them there. And he's had a picture with fucking Stanley Cup, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, Stanley Cup's in Nottingham." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm there."
Well, what's
I'll
his
come
number
tomorrow."
so I can, start talking
No,
and
but-
speak to him?
No, but I said to him, I went, "Oh, I'll come tomorrow," and he's like, "Yeah, you can't. It's gone. It's gone somewhere else. It's going somewhere else before it goes back for proper Stanley Cup." And I'm like,
Yeah.
Are you for real? It were there for over a week.
Oh,
and
I'm
you
gonna
hadn't
need a
fucking
refill
told
in a
me.
minute.
I was about to say, John, I would have been,
But no-
I'd be pretty
no, but-
pissed right now too. It's like the Stanley Cup. It's
more.
right there.
Fucking
Right.
worst bit of all, it's
Are you gonna
international
read
fucking
start the
game.
Yeah,
He
because
had
we're waiting
There we
on
go.
people anyway.
tickets.
Alright, then
Yeah,
I'm
let's
gonna go
get a
make
refill.
myself a drink.
Yeah, do
Go
it.
make yourself a drink, and I'm gonna down
Right
this
back.
and go refill it. Alright,
Yeah,
yeah.
We're starting.
get your wish. It's finally going down.
Can we not just play that game
I'm just
instead,
kidding.
please?
I'm just kidding.
Right, the whiskey I
can't-
ordered
I'll be right back.
is The
Fucking
Quiet
whiskey.
Man.
Oh.
Yep. It is a 12-year-old single malt whiskey. £58.90.
Single
It
malt.
cost me.
You
Yep.
saying you're a savna?
Irish
What, bruv?
whiskey, mate.
What's that? I paid $1 something for this.
Sound like you're a savna.
Yeah, I paid $9.99.
I'm a Londoner, mate.
You're a Londoner.
Well, ex-Londoner.
Eh? So you were brought up there, right?
I brought up there, yeah, but I don't live there anymore, thank fuck.
Hey, the English is making fun of the
Pardon
English.
me
Oh
for my
my God.
language.
I'm not making fun of him. We have a laugh. Like, he
You make fun of
fucking.
each other.
Jesus Christ, he could take piss out of me like fuck because he knows I'm an overner. He can take piss out of me more.
Why are you on the ground for?
I'm not gonna do that though, mate. You're
Trying to
alright.
find this fucking
He's
earphone
turned
over
into
his head.
Bono, apparently.
Yeah.
Broke him enough that he's on the floor.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
But I know, Jeff. I've been waiting for her to turn the bot on because I haven't been able to do my screen yet.
Let me go and
Rude.
clean this because it landed in cat
I
litter.
haven't gotten my scream.
The bot's
The
not
bot
working.
is
I did
down.
turn it on. Batman, welcome.
Can't
Hold on, let me
work.
fix it.
I'm
I
in
want to
Trust Kitty's
scream,
leg.
Mono.
Yeah, I'm here.
I turned it on. It's just being dumb.
I want to scream.
I will restart it again.
And it's not
It may
socially
me-
acceptable for me to scream.
It may make me do all that login crap, and I'm gonna be upset. Scream. I'll scream for you.
No, please.
Joe,
Inaudible.
A dugong appeared. Poke catch the dugong, guys.
Mono Dog's talking to
what do I
Joe.
say?
I know, I'm jealous. I know. Just
What
Just
what
walk
do I
away.
say to that, Joe? What do I say? You fucking prick.
Yeah, yeah,
It's gonna
say
be one of
something
those things. You're gonna have to give it a second, Batman. Could somebody post the Discord link in there for
I'm
Batman?
gonna put.
No.
I fucking hate it.
Give me a
you
second.
should be able to see the stream.
Since my bot has decided that it's gonna be a pain, and I'm gonna have to
I
do
have
all
no
the
idea what I
things.
just pasted, but
Connect. Oh,
It
maybe
probably
generate a new
censored it.
freaking token.
I think
no,
Twitch
Authorize
censored
it.
I sent a direct link to this channel, not just to Discord.
Oh.
Whoops.
Well, you're a sub too,
It's
so I
okay.
don't know
Not
why I
everybody
got
can
that.
click on it. It's fine.
Yeah,
I
it's just free.
I think it's gonna
just
work
3
now.
asterisks.
Momo! Hi, Momo.
Who's the Batman?
I'm Batman.
What about it?
Oh, but-
Okay, it's somewhat connected.
My whiskey should be here on Wednesday, hopefully. So
Okay.
I'm so paranoid. I want to go out and see if my car is still there.
Wait, did your
What?
car grow?
I'm not being funny, but if
No,
you live
we
in
had
fucking
two
England,
Ah!
my God,
Vermont, and I'm not sure if they're like towing everyone who's just got
It's
the
still
only
not
we should
working
have
right.
whiskey on tap.
or just nothing at all.
Okay, so I do this part.
I gotta wonder, do we know this guy? He's being mighty.
You got wireless headphones. Go take a look.
I don't have wireless headphones,
Oh, they are wired. My bad.
and I
We're
have
just
to go
gonna
down
very-
2 flights of stairs. So I'll be right back.
Generate.
Let's get a very long
Next.
cord.
Don't worry, we're gonna win without you.
Generate. We'll do the same thing. It's probably gonna be sort of messed up, but I don't care as long as it works somewhat. There we go.
Ready.
There. Bot's working. You guys can scream and all the things now.
We.
Yeah, it's gonna say I'm the one doing it though instead of the bot because it's being a pain, but I'll fix it after stream. I'm not worried about it tonight.
Dad wants me and him to apply for Race Across the
Oh, there's
World.
Becky.
One sec.
I was gonna say, I thought I was Momo for a second. Yes, scream.
Batman 1, 2, 3,
There.
2, 4, 5.
That's how I feel. Except for there we go. Can you give me some wine? But no, it's
Don't
margaritas
worry,
tonight.
it's the revenge of the 5th.
Does anyone
Oh, let's
want to
see.
address Batman in his desire to kill us?
Let's see. Keys
I don't
add
think I have the authority.
at
Respect my authority.
Clumsy Momo 500 cookies. There you go. Congratulations on winning your cookies. Congrats.
You can eat 10 today, or you can get all today. I don't know. So,
I would say.
Namaste,
No.
hungry.
10 per week, or you can get it all at once.
there we go.
Ah.
Do we have my favorite feature, the flag, turned on?
Really?
Oh yeah.
That calls for some
You've got that
exercise.
built in, don't you? Yeah.
Stretches! No!
Oh no.
Welcome back, Lemon.
Flag indicator is always.
You can do side bends or sit-ups, but please don't lose that.
Why?
Continue.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Squats too?
Welcome back.
Oh god, here we go.
Cars are still here, so we're good.
I'm scared. I'm scared. You guys are gonna. I need an adult. Right, I need an
don't
adult.
Ask me. I'm the least adulty one here.
Right?
I'm only.
I think I hit that.
adultier than I
Oh,
am.
look, we got a gun show.
Adult here, adult. Yeah, adult here, adult. So yeah. Alright.
So
The
Jay,
only adultery adult? What?
Yeah.
the adultier adult
Dude.
here.
You're the
I don't know
mod.
who the adultier adult is.
You're the mod.
That's
That's
not
what we're
helpful.
talking about.
No,
I said I'm
I
dead.
relinquished my role today.
Oh no! You relinquish your mod duties. Help, Shane.
Hand over the sword.
What?
No, I'm not giving up the
Two.
sword. It's just today I'm not doing my duties,
4, 5.
which means everyone else has to step up.
Did you hear that? She ain't got no duties to do. Oh, don't forget about the gun show.
Oh, did you do that one too? Oh no.
No.
See those muscles.
Damn.
Damn.
No muscles. Flabby, flabby. There's nothing there.
Oh god.
I have no muscles.
Oh shit, I forgot to go into mod view earlier.
I can pretend I have muscles, but I don't.
But you weren't modding.
I always go into mod view to at least get the rewards
She's
taken care of
attempting
before
to
stream
mod.
start.
Attempting.
Oh look,
Yeah.
that's a thing.
Let's see.
Oh, got another babby.
That's
Oh,
better.
we got another baby! Oh my gosh, 32 months! Thank you so much, Lady Rain. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Is that how many little like, things just Don't ask.
I'm so muted. I've been talking to you guys for ages and I'm so fucking muted.
You've been muted
Sorry.
the whole time?
Yeah, I've been saying stuff. I've just cracked my neck now.
Heirloom! Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
yeah,
3
yeah.
months.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you
yeah.
so much, Heirloom. Thank you for the prime sub. Thank you, Rain. Thank you, Heirloom. You guys are awesome.
Oh, you plonker. Oh well, it happens.
36.
Oh, it happens, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
What I deal
man.
with on a daily basis.
Math is hard. I hate it when that
No
happens.
best friends.
Thank you for the follow, Batman. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I thought you were already following me, Batman.
Yeah, Shade, but it's technically 9 months in a row. I've subscribed for a total of 32 months, but it's only been 9 months in a row. So it's
Where do
not
I
a
know
bad
you from, Batman? I know your name, but
Gotham.
All from the movies.
Yeah.
no,
I'm
not
gonna say it's
Gotham.
probably a film.
I swear it's
Yeah,
another
movie.
stream.
Probably the theaters or.
My brain is just not working right because there are multiple Batmans.
Look, no,
It's Bruce.
rather than
Aw,
asking that,
jeez.
you need to ask for a ride. Because you've got a Batmobile. So
Yeah.
you need to ask for a ride.
What? Jay?
Oh, can I get a ride?
Jay
get a
is
ride,
no longer on my side. Joker?
that's
Oh
this.
my god, you really
I'm
bad.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh. Alright. 5 more squats.
Go on. Go on. Go on.
20 more.
I'm gonna save them.
You guys are terrible. Oh.
Should I do it again?
I do hope our lobby doesn't time out.
I need another drink.
Bobby
Cheers.
doesn't time out.
How about another drink?
That's
I was like,
good.
you read that.
Drink it.
Momo, that emote is very terrifying.
Drink water. Okay, I got tea.
Close enough.
It's terrifying to me. Oh no,
Who's
Trinity.
putting drinking water? Drink vodka.
That's what I'm drinking.
At least
Drink
an
water.
espresso.
Bratan,
Keep
What's
vodka
your
away from
property?
me. I don't want to end up in hospital, thanks. I'll pass on that stuff.
No potato.
Potato water.
yeah, but you can still do like Osha Pakuri. You can smoke. You can smoke the good stuff. That-
Oh my
You're
god, I
welcome,
completely
potato
forgot I
water?
had Genshin open.
Potato
Guys.
water.
I forgot I opened Genshin.
Uh-huh.
So it's been open. I even have golf open though.
You gotta get Genshin and golf. You're gonna multi-game. Just like what I was talking about doing, playing Star Rail while I play golf. We won't talk
No.
about it.
No, I can't do that.
Tequila is so dangerous. I drank that whole glass, felt nothing, tasted nothing, and then all of a sudden now I just went, whoa.
Then it hit you.
Yeah, it just now hit me.
Yep.
I went through tequila, I went through one whole glass and just took a sip of this one, and it was like, okay, I feel it. There it goes. It doesn't do that. It doesn't like slowly set in like wine and everything else. It's like, boom. Switch on.
So you ready to go? Okay, let's go.
Yeah. Ready to go,
No.
I think.
Are we all here?
Okay, can we hit some balls?
No.
Doesn't that hurt?
Breaking cannot smash.
I don't want to hit my balls. No.
Hey, it depends on the situation, mate.
Ah, it's terrifying.
I'm
What
sorry.
did you do, Momo? You're welcome.
Her emote looks terrifying.
Oh
when you,
yeah,
like,
the one that's
pull it up.
crying.
No crap.
Her laugh emote. Just, like, just pulled it up. I'm like, oh, that's kind of terrifying.
All right, it's everybody in that's joining.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Let's see. Let's see.
So where-
Ooh.
You're ignoring your paper bag, dude. How rude. I spent a good $4 on that damn thing.
Your laughing face is great.
Damn.
What other ones do you
There's a pack
have?
of 2. What? It's a pack of 2 of them, so I guess it's not that bad.
maybe
Oh, oh,
it's because it's scented. They're not used to us.
Bubba. Wait.
Was it $4 or $4.75? What are we talking?
I'm
What?
gonna get off, guys. And
Well,
I will speak to you,
Okay.
lovely ladies and gentlemen, later on.
Are you laughing? Oh, geez.
Good night, guys.
I'm laughing.
Good night.
All right, good night.
Good night, then.
Thanks for hanging out.
Okay, now
Oh,
I
you're
see
very
it.
welcome, sweetheart.
All right, let's
Good
see.
night.
Investigating.
I swear, if I
There
finish
you go.
my drink,
Okay. Ta-da. All right,
Puddle of black down there.
let's do this. Let's
The
go.
void. Let's do it.
Mhm.
I feel it in my
Someone's got
bones. It's the winning night for me.
Rose is gonna kick butt, or Puddles.
Watch out
One
for Rose.
I wouldn't count on it. I'm
could
just
be
trying,
Puddles.
trying to manifest it.
Might be puddles.
Manifest destiny.
Just leave you guys. Puddles stare at you. Might continue playing with it. I might have to knock it away.
Oh. No! I messed up already. We're in trouble.
Me too. I'll do the same.
Here they are, Momo.
It
Momo.
wasn't a hole in one.
Oh, that one though. That's shaking. That's crazy.
Sometimes it takes a minute to find it.
Nani?
oh, looks like I got the hole in one.
Yes, you did.
Wow,
you
you
were the
cheated.
only
Come
one
on.
that did.
Everybody got
Nani?
2. Except for. Let's get in the hole there. I'm sorry.
What?
Oh,
There we go.
Assuming you don't hit anybody.
Ba-ba-ba.
Johnny, when you doing?
I still don't know what the price was about, Heirloom. $4 or $4.75. Was I not listening to chat?
I have no idea either. Don't worry about it.
Which chat?
Strong.
What about it?
The paper bag. Oh.
Yeah. The paper bag was the pack of 2 is $4. It was actually like
Okay.
3 something, but
Oh,
yeah,
what are
it
they
was
like?
roughly about $4.
They're paper bags that are infused with catnip.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
special paper bags.
Yeah.
But yes, there's a Wooloo, and I want it, and I don't have a Great Ball, so we're gonna do Ultra Ball.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I just kind of round things up. I don't even like account for tax.
Hello,
When it
Sixer!
comes to
You
the
gonna
cost
join
of
us? Are you
things,
gonna
I don't
play? Are
even
you gonna have
round
some
things up
margaritas?
for the cost of tax.
Oh yeah.
I just round it up to the nearest dollar that makes sense to me.
Oh,
I'll take it.
there's my Pokemons! Ball type doesn't exist? I forgot that you! I'm not gonna catch it! I'm not gonna be fast enough.
Sure.
Yeah, the letter. I forgot the letter. We won't talk about it. Words are art, but yeah.
What is it? Is it something?
Hoggers, I went from the jump
Oh,
straight
Oh, it's a
into the hole.
Wooloo.
Yeah, it's a Wooloo. I need it. I need
I
Wooloo.
jumped and landed.
I don't know
It's
if
the
I need it, but
cutest.
I'm gonna try and get it.
That's impressive.
Thank you, Jeff.
It was.
Okay.
Mama, you
Gotta
wanna
go
play
do
golf with
I
us,
did the whole,
Mama?
like, wrapped
Hi,
your
Sixer.
face. Oh my god!
What do you
I
need,
did it.
Sixer?
Yeah. All the mods in chat, you guys gotta be good. I caught the Wooloo! Yes!
Completely rigged. Totally rigged.
It's because I tried so hard and failed multiple times in a row that the last one is success.
Oh, that was a little too much power. Whoops.
I tried throwing 3 dang balls at that thing. Ah. That was not even close. You might be okay. Rage. It's riot. Riot is one.
We don't
Exclamation
rage.
riot.
We just riot. Let us. Welcome back.
You kept the
playing with
seat
bad
warm
though.
for you.
I'm very hurt.
Yes.
Where are you going?
Jeff will
That's
keep
the
your
wrong
seat
bubble,
warm.
buddy.
That's what she
That's
said.
what I'm thinking.
You're going for the one on the left. On the
You don't
right.
Keeps
need.
making
You don't need
me
lots of
jump
power.
because her mouth's sweating. But
Oh, just a little.
No. Turned out.
You also asked 3 times how the margaritas turned out,
mine-
but seeing how excited you are, they're probably good. Yes, it's good. This is my second one already. It's very good. I made my own. I mean, I ground up all the strawberries in the blender.
She actually did the other
It's
alcohol
good.
too. It was
Oh,
crazy.
darn it.
Mm-hmm. Mono goes,
Oh, I bounced
woo!
off the glass,
Yes,
did I?
definitely. So I'm gonna have to go back and read because I'm sure I skipped whatever Shane said too. Because I'm terrible, Shane. You love me. What did I miss?
No.
I
Oh.
always
God,
miss
please,
what
no one
Shane
touch me.
says. So I'm gonna go back and look.
Don't touch me.
Wouldn't that be 36? I saw that. And that's why I said
Like,
math
really?
is hard. But that is all that's all Shane said. I'm good. Even though I just called Shane Jeff. I'm
It's
doing
fine. They're the same
You're
person
doing
now.
good. That's the first step of admitting.
I don't think I said anything of note this time, lol. I'm trying to be a good streamer friend, but I always miss somebody.
Oh, Jeff and Shane are now the same person, whether they like it or not.
Whoa. Call that a 4-sword.
Four sword?
No, they're not the
Yeah.
same person. Rip.
It's the
Last
ultimate
scene
power.
playing Disney Streamlight. Look at you, all the SOs. Thank you,
Oh,
Jeff.
wow, I went
Thanks,
way
Jeff.
too hard.
Thanks. What? Hold on.
Oh,
I'm
Wait, you already
literally.
got.
I'm just making sound effects for my
kinda
game.
sucks. There we go, bogey.
I got a double bogey. I am definitely winning right now.
I'm going to have to go as
I'm
I'm
super
getting
in
late
third.
and I need to sleep. I was going to stay up, but I need to sleep for a bit. Okay, I'll catch you next time. I'm sure my next stream will be Start
Safer.
Rail again.
No.
So far.
And it won't
we're
be as
so
wild and
far
crazy.
away.
Maybe.
All depends.
Maybe it will be. You never know. But good night and thank you for hanging out.
Oh, Puddles, you look like a bowling ball with a small head attached.
Hole in one.
I'm so sorry.
We need
dude.
wild and crazy? Okay.
Talking about my bowling balls.
I felt like you were so
noticed
calm
yesterday when I was laying in bed and Puddles was at the foot of the bed and he was looking at me and he was loafing. I could see his fat like spreading
Frog
out
hole.
and he's
Hey,
starting
don't
to look
judge
like
him.
a bowling ball with a head.
No, darn
No,
it.
Pacha, I do need to play
Getting all
Pacha
bad.
again.
Alright.
No, what the hell?
Lady, where you going?
I'm
hole
going to the
moved.
next hole.
Oh, you just, you don't
I
like this
tried
hole?
that once.
No, I
It
don't.
didn't
I
work
hate
out
this
for
one.
me. And then I started hitting invisible objects afterwards. And then the third attempt was a success.
Somebody
Yeah, good night, guys. Good night,
everyone.
everyone.
Oh, those are fighting words. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, we need to play more Pacha and get Rose hooked on Pacha.
Yes.
Words of
I already
Pacha.
added it to my wish list.
I believe
yeah, so we
it.
just need to buy it for you. Got it.
Yo.
Well, no, I figured Thor might buy it for me for my birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Aww.
Oh, that's right. That's coming up too now, huh?
Yeah.
So you guys are almost birthday twinsies, but not quite.
Yo.
So we're like
2 days apart.
Yeah.
So when's M's
Oh,
birthday? Is it today or is it like a few days from now? Because my bot said it was today, but I think my bot lied.
My bot is telling me yes.
Your bot said it was a user's birthday. It didn't even say someone's.
But then if you look in Discord, in the right-hand column, it has
Yeah,
M's
it's
there.
Imp, yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it's not his birthday until like the 9th.
Maybe he has 2 birthdays.
Hold on.
I don't know.
We're gonna get to the bottom of this.
Yeah. Why does Me6 think M's birthday is today in my Discord? But I
I'm gonna
don't
go
think
call
it
the
is.
FBI.
His birthday is May 9th.
Clumsy
Okay, so
memorial.
Mona was
Yes, that's
right.
what I
It's
thought.
May
May the Sith be
Oh,
with
he has
you.
2 birthdays then. That's crazy.
9th. Yep.
May the Sith be with you. Thank you, Mama, for the biddies. Thank you, thank you.
Yes.
So my bot has just lost its mind. I didn't
Yeah.
even think Imp was programmed into my bot to begin with. So I don't know what my bot's doing.
Let's go.
Well, you
Somebody
gave it
pushed-
too much.
Somebody pushed me in and I liked it.
Oh.
Oh, I bet you did.
Bot
You
drank
wanna talk about it?
margaritas. It probably did. It
No,
probably did.
that was what I was gonna say.
Oof, tanks.
Mm.
Why does it say negative rewards?
Because you owe
frozen
them
now.
rewards.
Why does it be this way?
I mean, my margarita's frozen. The bot's frozen.
Oh my god. There
I'm
we
gonna
go.
eat all the salt.
Nothing.
These are so dangerous, I swear. You can't taste the tequila.
Well, that's why you drink it quickly.
That's why I drink it quickly.
Yeah, duh.
I already did that.
Yeah.
Oh, what
It
do
was-
they call them now?
Ah.
What do they call
Seriously? Oh, this mouse is giving me problems. I'm gonna have to actually arch my hand over the.
Oh my gosh! Hiya. Oh, you still got a sound too. Stranger danger. It's so good to see you. Unfortunately, I gotta work this weekend, so I'm gonna lurk while I get ready. Okay, Shane. Good luck.
I can never enjoy a Friday.
Yeah. Hi,
Always make me
Image.
work on
Hope
Fridays.
life's treating you awesome. It's so
Come
good
on,
to see
other
you.
mods.
Well, at least you can drink, during your work.
Splints.
Mono! Yes! Why we wait on Tank? Let's see, poor Tank. He finally made it though. Yeah, hi! Welcome to the
I think
stream.
you ran out of time, to be honest.
I hope you're doing
The
awesome.
fan,
Hope
did,
life is
I
treating
did.
you well.
That's a weird thing.
something boys.
Oh.
I can't remember it first name.
Are you playing Star Rail?
Boys.
There's too many balls in here. I don't know what to do. I'm like,
Well,
oh god, wait, because there's too many. I'm Goody, and I'm hooked on Star Rail. Yes! I played Genshin before stream, and I'll probably do my Star Rail stuff after stream. But I should stream Star Rail again soon. Risco! Welcome, Risco! Welcome back. Hope you're doing good, Risco.
Is it Boys to Men what we were thinking of?
Huh?
I was not thinking. No.
Thinking Boys to Men.
You might have been thinking about Boys.
He was
The
thinking
margaritas aren't that good yet, but they're getting there.
They're gonna be great after like 20 minutes.
We're gonna start singing. To become
I'll be there.
acapella karaoke
Yeah,
night
I
and some
swear
golf with
Yeah,
friends.
that's Boys to Men. Well, that's Boys to Men.
Now you know, Image, you're always more than welcome to join us if you feel like it.
Also, Mono.
End of the road is Boys to Men.
Oh!
I got 2 of them.
That's awesome.
So I can give you one.
Sweet.
They're secret rares too, so the
I
fact
gave
that I
this
got
too much
2 of
hate.
them was pretty cool.
Just the right amount. Oh, my ankle was just a
Yeah, you
little
must
bit
have
off.
printed
Thank
it
you,
out wrong.
Splits, for getting me back on track. Thank you.
You helped me too. It's fine. It's fine.
A little bump there.
And, sometimes you have to touch balls.
Oh no! I didn't give it enough power. No! I'm failing epically. Oh, Image doesn't play like that anymore. Okay. Just on my Switch and Star Rail.
He was talking to me.
No problem.
Okay, that makes way more sense.
Talking to you.
Honestly, touching my balls doesn't mean anything. It's just, balls.
Yeah, maybe he had an itch. I don't know.
What games are you playing on
You having a
Switch?
seizure over there, or what?
No, I was trying to get myself to move a little further.
Yeah, she's just stuck.
Bounce.
She's just stuck.
I was hoping that it would eventually get me to go further.
I bet you were way past me though. I'm only level 14 in Star Rail.
Oh, dear.
Still on World 0 or whatever it is.
This one is crazy.
I've only streamed it twice, so I need to get back to streaming it. Work's been crazy.
Is this one like all you got, or is it?
Yeah.
Yes, full yeet on the right.
Then we have to decide
Pokemon, Mario
first,
Kart,
lady
RPGs,
or
lots of
I'm in the
games
front.
with the daughter.
Yeah.
Aww,
There's so many
so
balls here.
cute. That Mario
I guess
Kart's
I'm
fun
next.
that way.
I guess I'm next.
Woo, Albatross!
Yeah, I can't hit you.
Alright, go.
I can't even see who's in front of me.
One's their traffic control.
Yeah,
But
Over
John,
there.
mute
Looks
yourself.
like
definitely
is gonna
happy for
be-
you though,
Tank needs
Image.
to go first.
I see your
Yeah,
post.
Tank
I
needs
like.
to go.
I like.
I think Rosie's in front of me.
Tank, no,
No,
you're in front.
no,
You're
you're-
in front. She's off to the side. Tank.
On
Yeah.
mine, I have Rose, Tank, and Tank, Rose, and
I
then me.
think they were touching. Alright, well, Rose is next.
Your
You guys are-
balls
Rose!
are touching.
I can't move. You're in
going.
front of me. Oh no! Now
Oh,
my
a little too
screen's
much.
locked. Now my screen's locked, and I can't see what I'm doing.
Just
Oh,
a
my
tiny
goodness,
bit.
what happened?
You're all just fighting each
Text-
other.
Yeah, but my
against
screen was
each other.
locked. I couldn't.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell what I was doing. Dang screen.
It's all you, buddy.
Oh, jeez.
Tex. Hold up. I might join that. Let's see. Let's see
Oh,
if I can
what?
do both at once.
I see.
You're all multi-gaming.
Yep.
A wild wishy-washy appeared. Poke catch if you have pokeballs, guys. Catch your wishy-washy here.
Poke the balls.
Ooh, okay.
Wishy-washy.
That way and then that way. Oh, y'all went that way.
Wishy-washy is great.
Y'all went that way. Okay.
Oh,
But
okay.
wishy-washy.
Booty bumping me. Just gonna sit here until
No, you
everybody
talk
gets done
shit
booty
about
bumping me.
wishy-washy. Wishy-washy is
Was
fantastic.
it another full send?
I got sucked out
But
of
they
the
not-
course.
Way more useful than a Magikarp.
Oh, that was awful too.
Somebody commented on my golf with your enemy's post saying Margarita with the blood of your enemies. I like it.
That's
I
not
love
false.
I
love that.
No,
Fellow
this
D&D
hole is
players in our
my-
campaign.
This hole is gonna
One of their primary party Pokemon.
Far back right
Oh,
corner.
Jamie, thank you for the retweet if you're listening. Jamie Whammy, thank
It was
you.
a shiny wishy-washy too.
Oh, this hole.
Thank you
is
guys
not
for
good
the
me.
support. The retweets, all that stuff
Oh.
counts. Thank you.
It's not
How
good
did
for
I end
me,
up
okay?
back
Just-
down here?
Oh, that's awkward.
When was I? I don't even know how I got back down here.
This is not like this hole.
Somebody touched me one too many times and I ended up way back in
What?
the
It
beginning.
wasn't me. Right then.
Did you call the police?
Not like that. Not
Oh,
like
no.
that.
Alright, I'm done. Whatever. I don't care anymore. Like, it's too much. It doesn't matter.
Oh,
Let's, you can do it.
We have faith in you.
No, I'm
Gotta
already
go
doing
up the
it.
ramp.
It's like the whole count. It doesn't matter.
You can do it. Let's see.
Well, like I would say,
Put your
maybe
splits into it.
maybe this is your best hole because you have the most strokes. I'm just saying.
All the shorts.
Yeah.
Stroke it all night.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, logically.
You see nothing.
Wow, I went from second to fourth.
oh my god, Mono. I don't know how you guys can play on the phone. I can really only just log in and do things. Like, just, like, collect my mail. I cannot play on my
Yeah.
phone.
If I really concentrate, I can, but really, that's mostly what I just do is check in.
No! What?
If you have a problem, just talk to the
No!
HR department.
How did I get
Whoa.
stopped? I did what Thor's
Oh my
instructions were. Rose. I followed Thor's instructions.
Yeah,
And I
go to the
failed.
beach.
That's your
Yeah,
first
yeah.
mistake.
Well, yeah, I do like the design.
Yes.
I'll
42.
put up the back end of that.
The answer to everything.
Oh, great. I'm supposed to be playing another game.
Ah, tank. Tank, 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 tank. Yes, yes. Ah, dang it. He tried.
That whoa.
My bad.
He tried to help me out. It didn't work.
Lord.
Well,
Wait, is he still there? He left.
Let's see. Claim.
Wait, what? He joined the game and then left? Wait.
What?
Nothing.
now they're playing something.
A different game. They're multi-gaming as well. If you're not multi-gaming tonight, you're doing it
Then
wrong.
you're not.
I guess
Then
this
you're
counts
not a
as game
gamer.
too. I'm
You
doing
gotta
autograms.
multi-game. You gotta play golf. You gotta play a game on your mobile device.
Dude,
And
I'm
you
not
gotta
even
have
playing
an
Words with
alcoholic
Friends.
beverage in one hand.
Also
That's
playing
multi-gaming.
I don't drink it,
Friends.
so.
Multi-game.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Now I'm in second place. I went from the bottom, now I'm here.
That's good.
That feels bad.
Helpful.
Started from the bottom, now I'm in second place.
Oh,
That sounds
That
like
was
a
the first
song.
draft.
Started
Well,
from the
it's
bottom,
good.
now I'm here.
Yeah. Now I'm in second place. Nice. Can everybody hit Kimono real quick on the next one?
No.
That would be good.
Condone
Ah!
violence.
Violence toward Mono is not acceptable.
Double bogey.
He's in first place, and we can't have that because that gives her too much of an ego, and we can't have that.
I was doing good until I wasn't.
Right.
I was in second most of the round.
I don't know how I'm still in first, honestly.
I mean, you're tied with me for last.
Freaking level. Dang it.
Get in the hole or
Full
something.
send.
Jesus.
This one messes me up.
I
the
don't.
most.
I take the
Yeah.
shortcut and murder
Oh
myself.
yeah, cheats. Hold on, I have to get this cheater out of here.
No!
Okay.
I've had the worst luck lately with the logs, though.
I didn't even do anything,
Ah,
and
fuck.
it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
you went
no,
outside of the fucking
come on, you can't be here.
course.
Yeah.
Why
I
I
just
fall in the
jumped the
hole?
wall, 2 yeets, jump the wall, head toward the hole.
I got second place, so this is she's a cheater.
2 senpais, 2 yeets.
Finny. Oh no. Oh no! No! Damn it. It took me 5 shots to get here.
It took me 7,
That's
so
a
I think
double
you're doing better.
bogey.
Well, I always say, person in last place is the winner.
Hey, Lord Tex, are we playing fucking words or what?
Well, he's playing
No.
with his phone.
You're also muted, Tex. Just saying.
Nah, he knows. He's chatting on his little device there. Whatever it is.
Ooh.
I still need another beer, so it don't matter.
He's secretly on Omegle and recording all of us.
Oh no. What's
Oh my god. There's something I haven't thought about in like 50
Right?
years.
He's nice
Hasn't
for
been that
everybody's
long, has it?
Oh, there we go. I got 40. How the heck did I
Really
get
been that
40
long,
when I
huh?
was not paying attention?
Before we play the next one, I gotta get 2 more.
Okay, break
We
time.
have
I'm
a
actually
tie for
gonna be-
last place, by the way.
I'm gonna be lame and bow out of this one because I gotta
Alright,
be up early to
Ross.
drive to Nashville.
Congratulations. I'm so excited for you.
I'm so
I
excited. I
hope
almost
you
didn't
have
go.
the best time ever.
So there's this whole ticket debacle. So one of my best friends bought the tickets back in November, and it was me, her, and these 2 other girls that I don't know, which is fine. And then last week, one of the other girls got better tickets, but instead of having me move down with them, she invited somebody else, so I was all alone up in the original seats. So I was like, no, that doesn't sound fun. I'm not gonna go. And then Sean was like, you have to go. I will go with you. So that is.
Aww.
I'm now going.
Aw, sweet. So does he have a seat next to you then? Did it work out that way? Okay.
No, he has a seat on the opposite. That's just
Good.
So poor thing. He's
To
not
be
a
fair,
Taylor fan, but
I've been on a date.
He's gonna get his Taylor Swift on.
Yeah.
We need a picture
Yeah.
at the concert where you like lean back just a little bit and get him jamming to Taylor Swift without him knowing it.
listen, that's my goal.
22. No, I'm kidding.
He's gonna become a Swiftie. That is my goal by the end of the weekend.
Yes.
I admit I was never a Taylor Swift
Oh,
fan.
that's not.
Like not like a big fan.
It's not.
Good.
Stop it.
But she's gotten better and better, and this last album is just like
Like,
really
oh
good, and
my
it really
God.
spoke to me. I like this last album.
Yes. Yes.
No, I want to see Sean
The last time she spoke
sing
to me.
in 22.
I
That would be the thing.
that'd be amazing. I will try my best.
Pay him $5 under the tape.
Well, the issue is that he doesn't know much of the music, and I'm gonna listen. So I'm driving because he's working right now, so he doesn't get off work till 6 a.m. So he's gonna sleep in the car on the way. But my plan is to listen to every album in order. So I'm like, well, okay, by the time that he wakes up, then hopefully he'll be.
But in
able
his
to...
dreams, you're literally forcing it into his dreams. So now he's gonna be like, you know,
There you go.
Exactly.
It's gonna happen. All right.
now he will wake up saying, "I thought I was 22."
I'll make sure to send you guys pictures, but I'll catch y'all later.
Yeah, take
All
care.
right.
Alright.
Bye.
Good night. Good night.
I was gonna say too is buy him like a Taylor Swift like shirt or something that has her on it.
Just call me, maybe.
Ah, I'm doing a thing.
I'm not gonna call you, even though I do have your number. I might call you maybe.
I said maybe.
This
I've
calls
got a
for
fucking time. Time.
What?
Oh no!
Yeah, I'm
That's your
done.
fault.
Yeah.
Hold
Text?
on.
You wanna?
Let's hold on. We'll wiggle out of that. Hold on.
Oh, she's doing the Snapchat.
Ew.
No,
I'm doing
we'll
it.
start a new game. We'll start a new game. Fuck it.
Nani.
It is a new game.
Nani?
It's not took
No,
it.
no,
It's
yeah.
not took
He
it.
and I
Oh,
are
and the
playing
multi-game
cards as
thing.
well. Yeah,
You know, I'm
Yeah, the
texting about that
multiverse.
right now, so
text.
or tweeting about that right now.
I'm actually playing chess on my phone. Let's go.
We'll just stop playing this particular game and then we'll start again.
I said, if you're not multi-gaming, streaming, voice chatting, and drinking margaritas, are you even doing it right?
Are you
Question
even
mark.
saying
Or
my-
are you a gamer? You know, are you a gamer?
Are you even doing it right? Apparently, I'm not doing it right.
I'm not a gamer, so that's why I only stick with one game.
So just call me.
Ah.
Well, I think since
Yeah. No, I think we're gonna be alright.
How do we back out of this? Like, leave activity.
Don't.
There we go. We'll start a new.
No.
No,
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I
I
have
see what you guys are
3
doing.
points,
No, don't
I've
do
actually
that.
got to go
I
anyway.
already did. It's too
Alright, well,
late.
take care,
It's too
Eraser.
late.
Eraser.
To apologize. Start an activity.
I think I was.
I'll join it.
Oh, I literally did it, you little dickhead. So I need
Yeah,
to.
but you were stuck on seconds, and we gotta fix the fucking thing.
No, it was stuck on that because. Oh, to be
You're
fair, it
red
ended up-
creep.
Yeah.
Fine.
No, we need to
No,
back out
still
because
need
the
to say-
timer.
I still have the same letters. That's weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Hank wanted to leave, so.
Enter practice and exit.
Oh, I have the same
Alright.
game again. Dang it. The same map again. I guess I'll get practice round number 2.
No, I'm gonna beat you this time.
You better.
I don't
Splints
wanna...
out. I've left.
What?
If we
I gotta
all
beat
leave,
40
it'll
this
start
time.
the
If we
game.
both leave. Okay, there we go.
We got a far. Unbelievable.
Do you want to start it or me?
Hold on. You need to start the game, but you need to figure out how to set like the time limits or whatever.
Okay. Oh, we go.
Whoa.
By the way, it started automatically last time. It was like, bomb.
Thought you'd already
Right.
set everything. Oh my god, you
right.
wiggled in. And you jumped out? What?
I
don't know what's happening.
Hell, what?
Not you, not you. Reese, don't worry about it. It was something. It was something, I'll tell you.
Mm.
So who wants?
I think I've done the right thing.
You think?
You think so? Alright, let's find out.
Just do it.
Yeah, no. You know what I mean. Okay.
Thinking is dangerous.
We'll find out then, won't we?
Oh,
Dreaming and
gosh.
thinking are the same thing.
I'm on
I went
22%
do it.
battery. I need to get to fucking charge.
Yeah, okay then.
Okay.
Hey, we're all in the hole.
Yeah, we're all in the hole together, guys. So.
I hope
I
so.
wanna go
Yeah,
down the
we're
hole.
making sure to touch our balls.
But we're definitely catching balls.
Charger.
Whoa, I suck.
Oops, I fucked that up.
I went the wrong way.
Shit. Oh, no, come back. No! Damn
Same
it.
splints.
No. Damn it. I'm like 3
Lady
extra
too
shots
busy over
behind.
there dancing on the wood.
Yeah.
Oh, at least you were on the course, lady. I was like out there in the fucking wilderness.
Oh, I was going out in the wilderness before I got there.
Well,
Yeah.
there is a tent perk on this one where you can sleep it off and then next.
Shake it up. Shake it up.
Check it out.
Old catch. Pincurchin. How do you say that on your phone? Gonna explode?
Pincurchin.
Pincurchin. Just read that. It's cool.
Okay, no, look, dude, I'm not doing this. It's too long.
That's what she said.
Wow. It's too long.
I have to wear my office hat right now, so I guess I have to do it.
Holy Badolies.
He wanted the other hole.
Still,
I'm sorry.
Waiting on Dave.
The scream, we heard like whir.
You jumped in and then you jumped out. What are you doing?
No, I farted, man.
Oh my god.
hitting the flag, obviously.
I had hoped that was not what it was, but at the same
No,
time,
it
I'm
was.
trying to grab
Well, I knew for a fact
that
what
and
it was.
No,
The
but
other
they're
thing.
all laughing.
Stop shouting, man.
No, I don't get the fault.
You're
Fuck off. No, fuck off.
Damn it, why does this one always take
What
me
is
2, even
going
though it
on?
should be 1?
I farted.
I farted, I'm getting yelled at by, you know, my
Hey,
girlfriend.
look, I felt okay. It's not my fault I pooped my pants.
Oh no.
I mean, shit happens, man.
It does. Shit does happen.
I
Yes.
felt okay.
Yeah, well.
Hey, if you're not farting, are you human? These are puzzling questions.
All in one.
fair.
Fuck yes.
Do
To be
it.
fair,
Never do that again.
That was the
What
first
was
one
it
I
for?
didn't get. I had
What?
3 hole-in-ones in a row, and I messed up on that
What's it
one.
for?
I don't know. Drugs.
Yonk.
Yes.
Oh, I was gonna hit Kimono.
Yes, you know what? I'm gonna get
There's so many emo ways to emo this. I don't know what I'm saying.
What?
Wow, you're so
yeah,
dark. Yes.
Hey, you should probably ignore the saw blade. Just don't use the saw blade.
Well, no, wait a minute, that's too gothic, yeah.
You should just bounce off the fucking angle and the dangle. Just put you in the bangle.
I didn't have the right angle for it, so I had to.
Dangle, bangle.
That bangle got you, didn't it?
Well, that's just
No
a
one
tango.
caught it. No one caught the Pokemon, by the way.
I'm mad. I tried.
No, right?
I don't catch Pokemon because that's a disease. Ooh, well.
It can be very addictive. I don't know about a disease, but it's extremely addictive.
It's a disease that I have not caught yet.
You will.
I heard it's transmitted by people.
Damn it, this is the one that always gets me because it's like either I give
Too
it
little,
much or
not enough. Yeah. Yeah.
Too
Hole-in-one! It didn't
hard.
get me this time.
You got a hole one. Well,
It was like 2
I'm
and a
fighting
half.
her.
Maybe a little more. It's like 2 and a half.
Extra yeets and I would have not made it.
How do you know
She's
that?
beating me again, and I'm getting. Everybody hit her ball. Like she cheats, so you have to.
Oh yeah, splints are on. I'm on left.
Oh.
Dude, I had to leave because it was
Ah,
too distracting.
Michigan,
Okay.
you touched
Oh.
my ball.
Well, you made my ball in a better place, so this is good.
Well, you're welcome, because it definitely didn't put me in a better place.
Oh, the one, wait, are you still there? Or did you leave?
I don't know.
Are we
No.
trading letter lead?
Cool.
Yeah, we are. Okay.
Won't be long, and I'll be able to do this
I left.
this map in my sleep.
Don't worry.
No,
Dude,
but I think I think
I
I turn
remember this.
I think I turn
Two.
time off between each person. I think there's no time.
Puddles,
It's okay.
what are you doing?
Dude,
It's
I'm
called-
so drunk. I don't even know. Whatever.
I don't drink. So.
Did you say half
I saw
an
John.
E?
I saw John.
Half an E? What? What splits? Senpai?
Half an E.
He's a half a knee away from.
Yeah.
Half an E are making me.
Wow, did somebody get a hold of
Fully.
one? That was amazing.
It's easy. Yeah, it
I
was
got a
me.
birdie.
Can
Aw, I
be
jumped
alright?
over
Oh,
it.
Kimono didn't. Yes, sorry. She's
Same.
my enemy right now.
I missed the swish.
Oh,
I got
Alright,
birdie.
no.
I went right in the hole.
No, I want Splinters half an E.
You want my half a knee? You don't even know what a half a knee measurement is.
No, he doesn't
Don't-
even have a knee. So.
Don't matter. I'm gonna say it.
It's so rude.
At least I get
No,
half an E.
he has a
that way.
bad knee.
I
It was a-
know. We're bad.
He is my friend. I'm not allowed to say so.
I thought we
Give
were
me
all
some
friends here.
Under
Give
the
me a
moon
minute.
and the stars.
See, now he's
there.
crying. Unbelievable.
As he should.
Give me an E, please.
Ah.
I knew I was
Just
missing
for
something
me.
today.
What are we even doing?
Come on, Tank.
We're trying to get in the hole, man.
Get in the hole.
Ah! Oh, jeez. Ah, you guys.
You dirty little bastard.
I don't drink, or I'm not. I don't even know what the hole is.
What the? Oh.
You must be
Okay,
on
at this
slide.
point, I'm waiting for
Go
y'all to
for
go
it.
because there's lag and all sorts of shit going on. I ain't getting it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I was waiting for Tank to disappear.
Kimono, just keep texting real quick.
I went to
for
the wrong
about a
hole
minute.
again.
Good job.
That
I got
is
a full
your.
According to my screen, I'm
Hi,
already
Kimono.
behind you guys.
Are we gonna interfere?
Yeah, you are now.
Okay.
You weren't before.
Oh, I went to the wrong hole.
No.
Kimono has an issue with that.
I don't know how she's having a hard time
What
finding the
is
right
going
hole.
on?
There's
You're
too
asking
many
me,
to
I can
choose
tell you it's a
from.
bad mouse.
Jesus.
I'm almost inclined to play with my mouse pad.
You should play with it. It's got some boobies on it.
Oh no. What?
Come on.
It's actually attached to the keyboard.
Oh
You touch a
no.
keyboard. That's impressive.
You guys are so bad.
Bad or just entertaining?
That you.
Not entertained?
No.
Drop them out up the scene. Yeah, I'm not gonna
Oh my
say that.
god.
I can't even watch.
That song has not been on my For You page in a hot minute, and I've been so grateful that it hasn't been on my For You
Well-
page. So thank you, because now I'm gonna get it on my For You page. Again.
Well, you're more than welcome.
What do you
You're
mean?
more than welcome.
They're always listening,
I don't
Graham.
even
You know
get
this
to
by
see
now.
the titties, man.
Drop
Oh, but the stream's 18 plus.
No, no,
My son.
no.
Come on.
Yeah, it makes it look like I meant to do
I
that.
Brady.
tried to get you. Damn it. So
You
close.
tried. You failed.
I tried to get you away from the hole.
Par 3. Okay, so
Mhm.
if I get it now. Oh yeah.
You can do it.
Hey, mama.
Oh
Hey,
no!
Shit.
Fucking rim job. You can't do that.
I could. It's all about whether they want it or not.
Oh,
Just
golf.
kidding.
Yeah.
Just
Mhm.
kidding.
We're getting to that stage now where everything we say.
It's
Okay, I
what?
swallowed my drink before spitting it out.
Wow, we're at that point now.
She
where...
said it! I didn't!
I was gonna say we're at the
She
point
said
right
it!
now.
I didn't say it this time!
Come on,
She
guys.
said
Be
things
mature
and
here.
stuff, not me.
And they always say spitters are quitters.
Oh god.
I'm just here for
Don't-
golf and you
Don't
guys.
say that to him. Don't say that to him. He ain't quit.
Can somebody quote that?
I know.
Can they
Oh,
croak?
jeez.
Can they croak?
Considering she's the mod that does the quotes, then that's kind of hard to do.
Oh, well, that's a bad system.
Bad system. It's because I'm literally the
bad
only mod
mod.
here.
Bad mods.
Shut them down. Open
No
up
one's
shop.
here to keep me in check
Oh,
tonight.
No.
The sixer pops up in 2 seconds going, what? We know Shane went to bed. We know Jeff went to work. I haven't seen any goats tonight. So
No
Oh, that's bad if you're the only
And no
one.
cuffs. So
no
So
cuffs.
you're the only goal. You're the only goal.
I'm the only mod too.
Mod.
Yes, but I am the only female mod.
I'm not. I was gonna say, am I not a girl? I'm so confused.
You're not a girl. No. You have 2 balls behind you.
I do.
just
I
happen to
do
be the
have
only
2
female
balls. We won't talk about that.
I think Mona has this thing against women being mods, apparently.
It must be. I think she's sexist.
It might be.
Clearly.
It might be. What does that say about range? She doesn't count.
Yeah, I'm just one of the guys. It's fine.
She's just one of the
Yeah, she's
guys.
one of those.
Mhm.
Ah,
Oh my god.
Somebody touched Lady's ball there.
Reaper! Welcome, Reaper.
I didn't touch no balls.
that's rude.
It's not what you said in Chicago.
Oh,
Not
baby
surprising.
Yoda
Sleepy
sip.
one.
Yes.
Does not surprise me.
You know what? I was sleepy. Wait a minute.
Wait a minute, baby.
There we go.
Oh yeah,
Ah.
we're trying to do this again. Alright.
Oh.
I
It's
need
like,
to.
why do I have red dots while I'm streaming? And it's not my thing, so hello.
Well, yeah, my fault.
Honestly,
Gamma.
the slip and slide is the worst way to get here. It's
Reckon.
the worst way.
Yeah, but it's the quickest.
If you get it right.
I've had
if you
hold him
miss
once
it,
on it at least
it's
2
the
times.
worst. If you get it right. It was the best of times.
Problem
It's
is,
the
I've
worst of
forgotten the
times.
sweet spot.
Mhm.
Okay.
What's
People are weird.
Do?
People are weird, I
She
swear.
gonna go up the tube or
Nope,
over the way?
this way.
Yeah.
And almost. Too much heat.
Exactly.
Way too
I
much
say
heat.
Yes,
Yeah.
you did.
Egactly.
Exactly.
I don't know what egactly is. Reaper, are you gonna play some golf with us?
Get off up there.
This is how
You're more than
Puddles
welcome
plays
to
with the
join.
bubbles, by the way.
More the merrier.
He swats at them.
He sluts at them?
Yeah, he swats at the bubbles. He loves bubbles.
No, that's just not what I said.
Just be in the hole.
That's not what that's what I heard, so we're just gonna go with that.
Hey, Splints.
Yeah,
Somebody
what's
hit
up,
me.
buddy? You're in front of me, you go.
No, you go. Let's go.
You go.
Get him, Puddles.
Kristen,
There you go. I got a hole in 2.
Text! I was just
Tomorrow
gonna
you have to hit the one on the
again.
left.
Are you
It's
kidding me?
sick, bro.
Can you see how close I am to the Don't
No.
push me, because I'm so
Let's
close
go.
to the edge.
Oh.
Yeah, Kimono, just sit there for about 1:26.
Why?
What the hell?
Because you're
Why did I
winning.
get an eagle? I could have had an
Albatross.
albatross.
I got an albatross.
I should have had an albatross, but I fucked it up.
I hate being the first loser.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than being second.
That's why I was like,
Oh, no.
Kimono,
No,
you should
no,
just,
no, no.
you know, just sit there and chill.
No, 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 no. No, no. I sound like the cat from the commercial.
I went way too hard.
Alright, I got up there. And then I'm gonna go this way. Oh, it's the wrong way. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Why am I stuck here?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Oh, Michigan trying to run me over.
how was that it?
You ran the stop sign, so.
Mm-hmm. Prove it.
Believe in.
That was
You
not
can
my.
miss the entire point of the golf course.
Don't stop.
She runs stop signs. That's why she's in the
No,
lead.
no, no.
Going to them.
Going down the hole. I'm not going down the hole. I didn't. I didn't.
Should be less than.
It wouldn't
half
let me jump
time.
again.
Well, I'll just
Dude,
jump
it
around.
tried to send me down, and I was like, no, 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 no. I said, no, 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 no. I wish I had a replay of that because it was special.
Jeez,
Yeah, it sounded like, yeah.
Becky's gonna kill you though, I think.
Yeah, eventually. Eventually she will. But
Not
I'm
tonight.
alright for a couple of days.
Oh, you're in the
It's gonna be a
doghouse.
hole in one. Oh, it should have been a hole in two, and I got a part.
Per ugly. I need it.
Well-
You were a little late, Mom. I also didn't.
Already escaped? Aww.
No,
Play the
you are.
margaritas. No, in the wrong
I also
way.
didn't announce it for you.
Go down the leg.
You were supposed to go down the V, Mono.
Yeah, go down the leg.
I failed the instructions. I failed the
All
instructions.
the ladies knew how that worked.
No, there's a hole in their leg. Oh, sorry.
I'm not
I know,
experienced
I'm a
that
little bit of an
way.
asshole, Sorry, my bad.
I'm not experienced that way, Splits.
Yeah, we're gonna try to teach.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm really jingling that.
Oh, I think we were a little too much for Turtle.
Oh yeah.
It was like, whoa, these guys are just rabbits, man.
They're just terrible. Okay, I don't know what happened there, but that was wild.
Becky's got fucking salmon.
Didn't hit it hard enough, apparently.
Let me
My
smell
mouse
it.
button has a tendency to release.
Small cheats.
Oh, this one
She does
fucks me
cheat.
up every time.
Just jump over the conveyor belts.
Yeah, you say that, but
It's like just a light, like not even a whole
God.
eat, and then a couple jumps. Great stream, Mono. Thank you, Measure Monstrosity.
Whoa, who did that?
Michigan!
Unbelievable.
Oh my god, that was on purpose. I felt like
No, that was just.
That
on
looked-
purpose.
anybody that sees that on replay will look like that was totally on
Helped a little
purpose.
Nuh-uh. I got my lawyer. My lawyer said it was not on purpose. So.
Hate it when it jumps out like that.
Yeah, I think you still missed.
And this will be my.
Oh, you're skipping.
This mouse is not working for me.
Lurk,
Yeah,
thank
what?
you so much for the, thank you so much for the Lurk Measure Monstrosity.
Where
Thank you, thank you.
I'm playing with.
Yeah,
Oh
you take
goodness.
it.
My bowling ball.
One more.
oh, this is the worst one for me. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Then it's time for refills.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot. She
What the
cheats
fuck
on this
was
one.
that?
Oh, I tried. I'm so close.
It's so bad. Like this one fucks me up
Yeah.
so bad.
Yeah. And it's actually possible, I think, to get a hole in one
What
on
the
this
hell?
one too,
I
but
didn't
I
even
fail
hit
at
the
that.
fucking speed up. Oh no. Oh no.
I haven't gotten one of those in a while on this one.
Okay, I got to go around.
My poor margarita's empty.
Well,
Guess you gotta go refill it.
well, you are the winner, so.
Nope, that was the wrong way. Wow.
I gotta see if I
That's
beat
what-
40 this time.
Well,
The
just
score
make
was
another
40 last
one.
time.
What's wrong
Make
with
it.
being 40?
So this is a practice round?
I'm a pachydermy. I'm turning 40.
Thanks.
I'm
Seriously,
turning.
It's really weird turning 40.
I'm gonna turn my age backwards.
I forgot that I turned 25 and I still said I was 24 to someone.
Have fun becoming ectoplasm.
It's like I turned 25 a month ago.
No, how did I get fourth? Right at
Actually, I
the
turned
end.
25 2 months ago. I have no idea how I forgot that, but okay.
Alright, yeah, I'll be back.
Yeah, do it up. Everybody just do their refills and all that other stuff.
Do your refill.
Yeah.
Do the refill.
Yeah, I'm gonna bow out. Let the runner-up have it.
People's
I
comments
cannot-
about my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't be throwing your thing out
Do
like that.
their own refills. Are you refilled?
No.
I'll be refilled. Don't worry about it.
I'm gonna bow out. Let
Alright, well, take care, man. Take care.
Bye, Tink.
good night, guys.
Yeah, later.
Good night. This person says I'm overthrowing the power structures that have kept us in literal chains and financial chains for hundreds of years. So no, I'm not doing it right. And then goes jokes. I'm drinking. Hiccup. It's like,
People don't drink. Come on.
I was like, because I was like, are you even doing it right if you're not doing blah 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 blah? And they're like,
Oh,
yeah, not doing.
multi-game. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Oh, what did I hit? I hit the wrong button again. I'm just supposed to be Big Me. Because I'm gonna go refill my drink and. Well, you guys figure out what you're doing.
Me? I'm just being me, I guess. I don't know.
Just following.
Well, Rain is apparently falling
Well,
on the
no.
floor under her desk.
She
I
Because
wanted to
she-
be a floor person today, okay?
She missed her
Be a
chair,
floor
I
person.
think, and ended up on the floor. That's what it looked like, anyway.
To be honest, I forgot my chair rolled.
And the thing is, too, is yes,
And I
there are
wasn't laminate, so it moves more.
And you've only had one drink, right, Missy?
Yeah, I'm not drunk.
Okay.
I
Okay.
wanted to be
I'm
on the
not
floor.
drunk.
Mm-hmm. Just one drink.
I don't drink, so beer does not count.
Alright, but I'm gonna go get a new drink. Probably a new glass so I can have more salt.
I was about to say, yeah, that thing looks like a mess.
It's all the strawberry
murder
puree.
Got so much sugar in it, you're gonna be crazy.
It actually doesn't have much sugar. It's not super sweet.
You're not allowed to eat it. Yeah, you don't eat the glass.
I'm eating the glass. It tastes so good.
I want more on it.
It's sugar glass
I have a
now.
candy cane shot. I have a candy cane shot glass. Like it's a legit
Nice.
candy cane. Like candy cane.
I've had chocolate shot glasses in it before with chocolate liquor. And so, like,
Jesus.
you eat the whole thing.
I'll be going crazy. I'll be so hyper.
Chocolate shot glasses. You eat the glass. But yeah, I'll be back. Gonna go refill.
Yeah. Oh my god, Kimono just farted. Unbelievable.
Here we are. We're the champions of the universe.
Are we?
Yeah.
I didn't think we were. Oh, hi, Tex.
We are the champions.
Ew, don't lick my hand. That's gross.
Okay, well, you didn't tell me that first.
Yeah, you should have told, you know. I was videotaping, so.
It's actually nice and cool down here. It's great.
No, she actually just got her legs cut
I'm
off.
literally on the floor. It's great. It's fun being down here.
Nice.
That's hot.
What?
No, the vape.
Uh-huh.
The vape.
The vape.
The vape is hot.
Ooh, I love a girl
I'm
when
a
she
floor
gets
person.
My vape is too hot. Who cares?
Who'd have hoped?
Come on, take that. Okay, puppy.
Wow, 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 wow.
Catch you.
Let me give this shit.
That's motherfucking. Oh, man. How the fuck do I get this fucking headset back on?
Your head.
Well, just tape
On
it to
your
you.
head.
Go check it off, I don't know.
I'm back with Margarita. New glass. New look. Looks
Voice
brand new.
noise.
At least
Looks
not
beautiful.
possible.
But then I'm going to step to the ladies' room and be right back. So.
Diamond trousers. So quiet because they're all gone.
Oh, let's talk about our. Just make like a whole.
It is what it is. There's no people here.
Wow, is that big? Wow, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Like, that's huge.
It's unbelievable. Burn it. Burn it.
Yeah, they should never leave the channel to us too. That's not a good thing.
Oh no.
So, Chad, what's up? Kimona does cheat though, by the way. She gave me the cheat codes, but
But I'm always listening.
I know, I knew you were.
See, I'm listening.
I was gonna make horrible jokes like,
I
"Oh,
know.
she's farting again," but I didn't say it. Well, technically, I just did.
Oh.
What?
Oh.
What?
Like, nobody wants to play golf tonight. Oh, where's Dreams at tonight? Was he on last night? He disappeared.
I don't know.
No.
He normally has to work tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, he's doing himself. Not in that way.
You're the one that said it.
No, when it came out, I didn't realize. But that wasn't intention.
And now I can be a comfy floor person.
No,
I
I'm
forgot I had a
jealous.
beanbag chair.
Hold on, no, I'm jealous.
Yes.
I want
Yes.
Right? It's great.
Comfy chairs.
It's actually quite small though.
We should play some Candyland, but cheers first.
that. Cheers.
Cheers.
I keep thinking who drinking my beer, but I guess it's me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it should be you.
No, my cat came over here and she started chugging down the beers and.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
She probably sniffs it and goes, ugh.
It's terrible.
I'll catch.
Alright, we got four balls.
Oh.
No, there's 4 players. Please get your brains out of together.
Uh-huh.
Oh, she looks so comfy. I'm jelly.
Try it.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I want one.
I need this up a little higher because like my mouse is on the floor.
No.
I'm
Oh, I found the water.
I know, I'm always short on that one.
I found the water.
I
Me
feel
too.
like every time I go the distance on this one, I go too far.
Yeah, you can't go full yeet. You have to go 3 3/4 of a yeet, and
I go
steer to
yeet.
just the left of the right, sugar cookie thingamajig, whatever they're called.
Kobe, I just did a Kobe there, went right in the hole.
Jeez, you're better than me.
Oh, I got
No.
paid.
No, I was in the water for a long time, and then I figured it out.
I got paid.
Lorraine, you look so comfy.
It's great down here. I
You're
love
gonna
it.
fall asleep.
Yep. Do
Great.
it.
We dedicate this show to.
Streaming on the floor.
One of these days, I'm just gonna have to do that. Just chill
Yeah.
here, play a game or whatever.
J3 does that. He'll totally do streams from a sofa every now and then. I'm just like, that's so cool. Just chill on the sofa
Yeah.
and stream.
No,
Me
I
too.
had
Wish
a-
I had a sofa back here, just to like.
That would be cool.
comfortable.
Well, I can be on my. Well, I literally have a couch right over here.
Ah, can't do this. I'm failing Candyland. We gotta restart. Just kidding.
This is when the animals come up and just jump on you because they're not used to you being there.
Oh my god, this is.
Kidding me? Are you kidding me? What the fuck? I'm pissed off now.
I'm like on number 4 or 5.
Yes,
I
Komodo's
can't
not
do
doing
it.
well.
I can't do this one no matter what I do.
Not enough candy in your system.
There we go.
What do you
6
mean
strokes.
you got in?
6 strokes? You get it 4! Like,
You got it! Ah! It's okay. I know. However, this one is weirdo. It's really weirdo.
Is it because there's dough as a cookie?
Over
I'm just gonna watch the circle go round and round and round. I don't know how many times till I decide to like go for it. 'cause
I'm in the hole
I've
already.
Failed
Damn.
so many times. You are?
Yeah, that was quick.
Oh my gosh. You
No,
are
that's what she
fast.
Oh no.
You are?
I didn't give enough power to that. There we go. It's really hard to do this. I'm not used to doing this.
Yeah, Birdie.
I feel like I need a new level of challenge now since Rain has applied challenge to her game.
Well, just have your drink in your hand. No, never mind. Your mouse is already. Never mind. That wouldn't make a logical
Yo,
sense.
drink in your
Um,
hand.
Oops. I guess I had the right idea, but not quite.
Not the
Let's go a little
exact
bit
right
left.
Yeah.
Oh, Mono's in the way, that's why.
Oh.
Woo! I got a par. What'd y'all get?
I got a par.
R.
Lady
No, you
got.
went chocolate.
Lady's
it's
trying
what
too
you eat.
hard.
Alright, I'm just gonna go a different way. Bye, guys. Just gonna go the correct way.
Yeah, it's actually smart to go the correct way.
Oh
Said,
jeez,
though,
that's
I
a
don't think
long
you're actually
way.
gonna get any closer. Oh no, you can still do it too. Yeah.
I didn't do it fast
If
enough.
only you hit it hard. Oh, not that hard.
It's fine. I'm doing this with a cardboard box as my mouse pad, so it's not very easy.
So somebody explain to me why PC mouses need mouse pads, but Apple mouses don't.
I mean, they don't necessarily need mouse pads.
It's more healthier. I don't know. Get it? 'Cause
Either
of
way,
the-
I get dog fur stuck, so.
I just
Dude,
don't know the
I
answer
hit
to that.
somebody in the air, and that was awful.
Oh, it might have been me, to be honest. Sorry.
Yep, bar.
Bogey. Sad. I hate it.
Come on, come on, come on, come on! Wait.
Ugh.
Rain, so close! You had the angle almost perfect.
I did. It's very close. Oh.
I need a
Oh, no,
beanbag
hit
chair
the wall.
now. I almost bought one a couple times.
Oh shit, I went the wrong way. Well, I'm done. Wait, nope, I still have one more chance.
Because I only have like a small sofa in my living room, and I was like, if I had company, I could sit on the beanbag chair and let them sit on the sofa.
Right.
Nope, I'm done.
The
Damn it.
beanbag chair would be actually so much more comfortable.
How did
It's
y'all
great
do
down
that?
here.
What did y'all do?
But I
Oh,
don't
we
really have
needed at the
company,
Blue
so...
Jolly Rancher.
Eat at the blue.
The far Jolly Rancher.
Yeah, you gotta go,
Yeah.
like, not through the water, but straight down the path to that blue Jolly Rancher full blast. Yeah.
That's what I should have done, but I did not.
Mm-hmm. Boop. Keep jumping.
No, there's no keep jumping. There was just, I was fucked.
Yeah, this is more stable.
In not the good way.
Oh, beautiful girl.
Whoa.
Hey, Brooke. I know, baby. You're so
This
pretty.
whole work?
Oh.
I don't know what this hole is.
Hole in one!
Heck yeah.
Yay!
Okay, this hole does work.
What, you like your hole?
No, I didn't know if that hole went to like the grass or something.
Oh no.
They all
Oh, I
work.
thought I was in that one. Damn it. Now I'm over here.
Sorry. I know.
No, I was
do
afraid of
I
that
go
hole.
first? Oh, you already went. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I'm already in.
He says I'm already.
Brooke!
Alright.
No, Brooke, no! Stay here.
She wants to jump up on the keyboard.
Yeah, I can't do it though. I can't see her up on
Oh,
the.
I choked.
Can't see the
Well-
screen if she jumps on the desk.
No,
Oh, that's
used,
right.
No,
Bar
she's
with a
no,
choke.
She's gonna block your view.
she's used to being up there, so she.
I know. I'm so
She's
horrible.
like, I want to go up there and watch.
I'm such a terrible mother.
We look like we did that in synchronization there almost.
Right?
Well, we're cheerleaders, honestly.
Yes.
So,
I can't hit.
so Splunts comes in and gets in the way.
Holy crap! I went flying.
Oh,
Me
what
too.
the hell? I didn't realize it was like that.
Mhm.
Jesus.
Sensitive? Ah.
My power issue right here. Hey, Kamala, can you stop respawning next to me? Oh my god. Like, oh my god.
I can't figure out this power level thing.
Oh my god.
Me either. I have a power issue too.
Hey, Montecut.
It's like 2 and a
That
smidgen.
shit, just so you know.
Lay down.
No,
Monty.
it's 2 and more than a smidgen,
I'm
but
in it,
2
I'm in
and...
it, I'm in
You
it.
have
But
no
not
concept of
much
space.
more.
Lay down.
I am not doing
Do-
well. I
Do
think
not
Kimono
drool on my
has
mouse.
cursed me.
Gross.
7 strokes. Can you beat that, Michigan?
Bro,
I'm on my
stroke
7th
it
stroke.
all out.
Get in the hole or not.
Good job.
I suck.
Just a little bit.
No.
Keep giving it too much power.
Just try too hard.
That's what she says.
See?
Oh, there you go.
11 strokes, my personal best.
Stroke it all out. How are you ahead of me?
Very carefully.
I was very.
I
Oh,
like
by
it.
not sucking.
Wow. Wow.
Wait, what?
This one, I hate this one. I really hate this one. I hate this one so much because it's like.
Tell
Tell
me
us
hit
how
my
you
ball.
really feel.
Come on, hit my
I
ball.
really hate
Barely hit toward the peppermint. And if you didn't barely hit toward the peppermint, you're doing it wrong.
No, you're doing it and you're doing it wrong.
Foxy, lay down.
Splits!
Lay down.
He's so mean!
You know, you
Lay
guys
down.
can't share the same
What?
road. You know.
He touched my ball.
Again? Okay.
Yeah.
I did touch her balls.
Her balls. Oh, that's impressive. From way over there, that's very impressive.
Yeah, I did.
hmm He's really just in the
I'm
other
gonna get-
room.
I'm
You
gonna
guys
get
just don't know
barred.
it.
I don't even care.
So this is
It's really the
green
same
screen.
house.
It's a green screen
Yeah.
behind him.
Definitely doesn't look like the master bedroom though.
Well,
No,
you
it
have to be the
doesn't.
master first.
I have no master. What do you mean?
Because she's been on the house tour and she knows the master bedroom has paneling. She's like, that definitely doesn't look like paneling in his room.
Oh,
Hey, if you
oh,
full
that's
yeeted at
true.
the green Jolly Rancher all the way at the end, you can get into the mudslide and get a hole in one.
Oh, the
If
poop
you
slide.
full
yeah.
yeet?
Yeah, full yeet at the green Jolly Rancher, like straight ahead from the
Oh.
Well, I call
Wait,
it the
tee
poop
off?
slide because it looks like.
I mean, it
Oh.
does look like poop. You're not wrong. Oh,
But then
wait.
again, I never pooped in my life, so I don't know what it is.
Hey,
Ah.
it's got no poop.
That's really concerning.
I'm very clogged up.
If you don't call it poop, what do you call it? Or are you an alien?
I got it removed, so
He has no colon.
yeah, I got it all removed
Oh.
because I realized if you
So you
remove it,
just
you don't have.
wear a thing. Yeah.
No, not
So
that way.
close.
I'm saying I got it
Sorry, Mac.
removed because I don't have to do it. You know, it's just being smart.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
You know, like I said, every other human has it, so why do I have to have it? Just kidding.
What the hell? We've got one more shot at getting a hole in one.
You got one more
Never.
opportunity.
No. Oh, yep, I fucked up.
Mhm,
No, it's
mhm.
good to have a lot of stroke because
Stroke it all out.
Cause why? Tell us.
of golf.
As we wait
Doesn't
on
even matter
splits.
anymore. Like I don't even care. Whatever.
No, not Metallica. Well, cheers, everybody, because I want her to double drink, apparently. Cheers.
Mac and cheese.
The nice,
There we go.
quiet night,
It only
apparently.
took 4 extra whatevers.
Strokes.
That's what you call them.
Oh, jeez.
Pew, 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 pew.
Come on, that was so weak.
No. This is the only way. Come on.
Hi,
Oh,
Arian.
damn it,
Hi,
Splits.
Splits.
What do you mean? I didn't do shit.
Okay, I found a way around you. Sorry. I took a different angle. I was just gonna go straight forward and you were straight
I haven't
forward.
really gone this way before. Oh, not enough power.
No.
I said no.
Is that what you said? You said no.
No.
Kimono's winning again. I like. How much do you pay per month to
Bro,
become?
to be honest, we're not all that far behind, so don't worry.
I
Well,
got a hole in
yes.
one, so
Oh, damn it.
hole in
I
one.
know.
Hole in
This
one.
is the course
I'm gonna bet I
Kimono,
don't
still not
catch this
howling.
Pokemon.
How many
Catch. They hate me.
Kimono.
Not very many. I don't know.
Kimono, did you just get a hole in one
No.
too?
Yeah.
Damn it.
How
Now
rude.
I have to go around.
I got a hole in one, and then you just like, oh, I'm gonna get a hole in one.
Yeah, I just
I'm
copied
gonna
it.
get a
No big
hole
deal.
in 3
Just hit the clone button,
or
and you can
5.
clone the person in
Oh
front
yeah,
of you,
okay, yeah.
Hey, lady.
Yeah.
and you can do
I'm
exactly
gonna
their
try
move.
as well.
Bye.
You,
I
you
got
don't
a hole
even
in
have to do
6.
anything.
No, I'm gonna get a hole in 7.
I knew it that you had a clone button. or something.
Attacks.
No!
100%.
It's like 2.5 heats ish.
Yeah, whatever.
Just do yeet yeet.
Not that, Splits!
I'm getting a hole in whatever.
2.5 ish heats. Oh, he almost had it.
You are right next to the hole, man.
I don't care anymore. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
Oh my gosh.
He just likes Metallica way too much.
Oh no.
And does it even matter?
Hey.
This is what we did in
Yay.
the beginning.
I can get it eventually.
Just 12
Good
That's all
job.
that matters.
Good job.
Proud of you.
Eventually counts.
That's all the girls saying. I'm proud of you.
How come nobody's catching any of these Pokemons, even though we're giving our best effort?
Because I'm all the way down
Tex!
here away from my keyboard.
Thank you so much, Tex. Thank you for the 10 months. Thank you.
Hex, who's that guy? I have no idea.
Oh, I hit that
I don't know who
perfect and went right out.
Hex, is he from Texas? I think he is.
I don't think so.
I'm from Texas.
His
I
accent's
never-
a little weird.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah, I know,
what is
well-
wrong with my ball?
Yeah, his accent's a little bit weird for Texas, but you know,
Yeah,
I don't judge him.
I do.
That took me way more tries than I should have. But yeah, thank you, Tex. Thank you so much for that Prime sub. Thank you for using your Prime sub
Tex,
on me.
cheers,
Much
man.
appreciated.
Definitely spend it on me.
Much appreciated.
Clearly
Well,
not,
Tex,
though.
actually, Tex spends a lot of money on me because he's my only fan.
Aww. You have an OnlyFans?
Yeah, the only person that can be there is Tex, apparently. So.
Oh!
Are you kidding me? I went off the field.
Apparently.
Oh, you stayed on the field this time. Proud of you. Wait, what?
I'm proud of you.
Tex, you should join back chat. You're missing all the things. Oh, it cannot be repeated.
Absolutely not. They're secrets.
All those secrets.
Oh yeah, this one is weird.
Just go in the
This one
water.
is
man.
so weird. It's
Get-
like
hold on,
hit
get
the
your ball
cane
wet.
in the face, and then keep going.
Mm-hmm.
No, you get your ball wet and then go.
No,
in.
no, really, hit the cane in the face.
I
I
apologize.
messed up.
I did it.
No. No.
You can get it from there, I promise. Just a little bit more power.
If I wiggle like
Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
Yeah. Wiggle. Just a little bit.
I doubled.
Come on, you're not in the hole yet.
Mm-mm. I'm waiting on
She's
splints.
like, yeah, I know, I already won. Hey, I'm in the hole.
No. Dang it.
Well, that excuse did not
I'm
work.
so sorry, Puddles.
I'm in
I was hoping Splints would accidentally bump me.
Puddle's tail was swishing.
Oh,
and
you're
it was
trying to
going
cheat
real
again.
slow.
Unbelievable.
And
You were
he was just
hoping I
so
would.
zoned. And I
No,
went and I
messed up.
grabbed the tip of his tail and freaked him out.
Oh no.
It would freak me
I
out
tried
too.
to scare him, but I completely forget that he's such a scaredy cat.
Well, he is a cat. But
He's literally afraid of everything.
Ah! Welcome
This
back,
poor
Jax.
cat.
Oh no, I didn't come back enough.
Nice.
Who pushed me all the way back up the hill? That's
It wasn't
impressive!
me. My lawyer said it wasn't me. So.
I am literally at the start again. Somebody pushed me back up to the start.
Michigan.
No, it was not me. It was,
I have never
my
seen
lawyer,
that before. That was
my
impressive.
my lawyer said no comment. So.
It's a full send to get across from where I'm at. So, yep. No, it's not a full send.
What? Hey, yeah, I'm right with you,
But you
Slim.
end up in the water.
Dude, I want to be in the lazy river.
Okay, there we go. I made it in.
Ah! Michigan!
Get out of here!
I think he's trolling me now.
That's
You just eat too much, and I just want to make sure everybody knows.
He wanted to make sure I didn't get first place.
I'm already
Ah.
four
Can you
fucking
stop hitting my
holes.
ball, please? Jesus.
Whatever.
Yeah, I'm trying to
That's
play.
really bad.
No!
I'm trying to play golf, and you just hit my ball constantly.
Yeah, you sure saying I'm in.
Oh, I can't get down there. I can't do it.
Well, she keeps hitting my ball, but luckily I'm in. Dude.
Oh. I did not do it. He messed me all up. He cheated.
What? You're the one
Nice.
who cheats.
9 strokes. He totally cheated.
It wasn't me.
Look at his number. It says 14. What does that tell you?
What do you want?
That tells you that I'm bad at the game. That's
No,
what
it doesn't, because all your other numbers are great.
No. This is classified information.
No. Oh no, I ended up in the water. I shouldn't have jumped.
I can't go high enough to find out where the. What the hell?
Oh, Kimono, you were right there.
Technically
No.
around the corner.
Around the world.
Dangerous spot.
Around the world.
Ah! Oh my god, I hurt myself.
Stop it.
Oh.
Oh, it's
Then
this
what's
one.
it?
It's this one.
Yeah, it's the hope you don't get hit by the ball.
You know how
Yeah,
this
you
one
can kind
goes?
of jump
This one-
over
this
them,
one
by the
goes,
way.
like, legitimately, wiggle with it, wiggle with it.
Wiggle,
You
wiggle,
can
wiggle.
kind of jump, yeah.
Yep.
I'm just glad that Kimono didn't cheat again.
Don't you forget about me.
You cheated!
No, you cheated. You're the one that hit me.
Mm-mm.
Where's your
I went
proof?
One over. I'm gonna get
I don't know. I have to rewind because I forgot what happened when and where.
I'm not
I don't
gonna
remember.
get
That was
fucking-
10 seconds ago.
I'm gonna flip the story because that's what I do.
Woo! 63! I made it. Nobody got 69.
Lady,
We
you
all
were
lose.
so close to
I
winning.
know.
She needed
I
one more
know.
point.
You just needed one more stroke.
One more
Sorry,
point, and
guys.
she would have won. She would have did very well. But I think that is it for stream, guys. I'll be here, but that's it for stream. So I'm gonna say goodbye. Good night, everyone. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for lurking. Thanks for having margaritas. Oh, Momo, you're still here. You might have KO'd. It's okay, Momo. Sleep is important, turtle, router. You guys are more than welcome to lurk in Discord. I'll probably be in Discord for a little longer. But yeah, sleep is important. Surprised Turtle didn't KO. But yeah, you guys are awesome. Thanks for a fun night. Happy Cinco de Mayo. I'm gonna say it backwards. I almost said Mayo de Cinco. I almost said it completely backwards. So But yeah. Alright, I will talk to you guys later. Have an awesome night, and I will catch you guys later this weekend. Stay tuned for another stream. Maybe some Pacha, maybe some Star Rail. I'll keep you tuned. Good night, all. You know it. Pacha! Yeah. Good night.